Hey folks, this is Max and welcome to another Okta workflows video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to iterate over rows from a table. So you get rows from a table, either via search or maybe all the rows, and then you want to iterate over the rows and do something with each record. All right, so I'm gonna show you how to do that today. All right, the first, the table. So I've got a number of tables here. Now the one I'm going to use is the country table. So this is just a list of all the countries in the world. So there are two columns really. There's the country, the name, and then there is the code, right? So that's going to be our table. But of course, you can use any other data or any other table as well. Okay, now we will be using a helper flow, right? So we're going to get a list of all the rows and then pass that list to a helper flow. And that's how you iterate over each row. But to start, let's create the main flow. And then I like to say main and then iterate tables rows. I'm going to check this so we can see how the data is passed when we test. All right, now the first one is going to be the search rows and search rows tables. And let's choose a table. And so I want to use the country table. And then we want to get all the matching rows. And then I don't need these options, so you can then check and click save. Now, so I'm going to only have 200 something rows there. But if you don't enter an expression, what's going to happen is that here, I'm going to just click here. I'm not going to set anything. So if you don't set the expression, it's going to return all the rows. Now, one thing to keep in mind, there is a limit to how many rows this car will return. And I believe it's 3,500. Okay, so 3,500 rows. So you do need, there are ways to, if you have more rows, then it gets a little bit more complicated. But I'm not going to cover that today. But again, there is a limit of 3,500 rows that this card will return. Anyhow, so we can click test. Again, no expression, will return all the rows, and click test. And this is what I get here. All right, very good. So if I open one of them, we got a country here. All right. Now next is we're gonna use the card called for each, right? So we're gonna pass this collection of rows to for each and then build a helper flow. So for each, and then we're going to connect. Now, one thing is that it's going to ask me to select a helper flow. I don't have one yet. And so it's actually not going to let me save, which is kind of a little bit annoying. But so I'm actually going to delete this card, and I'm going to come back to this flow in just a second. But let's go back. And let's turn, this is the one I just created. Let's create another flow. I'm going to call this helper. All right. Now, to make a flow to be helper flow, the first card needs to be the helper flow card. Okay. And so this is important. Again, that's how you make a flow to be helper flow. Now, we're going to be passing the entire row. So you can pass a particular property from that object or row into this. But our goal here is to pass the entire row. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say country, if I can spell. Now, the key is that you need to make this to be an object, right? Because that's the type that's being passed here. So this is important. So by default, it's a text. So you need to make this to be an object, okay? We're going to add one more card, but let's go back to our main. So let me turn this on too, and this is the main. Now we can go back and for each, and we're going to pass the, oh, this is object. I apologize. This is the one we want. Now I can choose. This is the one. Okay, so notice this field appeared. Okay, So once I selected a helper flow, so this field appeared, right? So this field is dependent on, this is the helper flow, on this here. So whatever inputs you create here, they will be shown here, right? So this is important. Now, and because I want to be passing the entire row, I'm going to select this top level item. Again, you could pass just the country name or just the code or whatever other properties, just depending on the object you're working with, you can pass. But again, we're passing the entire row here. All right. Oh, okay. Well, let's just sign in again. That's fine. Here we go. I think we're back. All right. But one more thing we need to do is we need to go back here, and then we're going to add. So we do want to extract the country and the country code from here. Now, the way to do this is, let me go back, and did I test this? No, not yet. So one way to do this is, well, okay, let me go back. Sorry, let me delete this. Let's run this without it, just so we can know. So I want to run this so we know the data structure of this object. Okay, so let's do that. And let's click test. Okay. And let's go here, and then we see all these runs. That's over something 200 runs there. And now what I wanted to see this object. This is a JSON object really that's being passed. And what I want to know is, it says country here. So when I get the country, and I also want to get the code. Okay. So again, it's a row from a table or an object, and of course it's being passed as a JSON object. So now that I know that it's a country, I'm going to go back and use get multiple. And what get multiple does, it allows you to extract multiple values from a JSON object. And I'm going to connect this row, and now I'm going to get two things. First is country, and then I'm going to click enter, and then I can do code. It has to be uppercase because it has to match the name. So I'm extracting two values from that JSON object that you just saw. Okay, so let's go back, save. Let's go back to the main flow, and let's click test. All right, so, and let's switch here, and then, so it's running. We can see the new card that we added, and we can see now that each row is being passed to this card, and then we extract the country name and the country code. And that's all. We can see all the countries here. All right. So that's pretty much it. So again, once you extract, once you have access to each row, then of course you can do whatever you sort of desire here, right? You can, again, up to you. I'm just extracting, but you can, email someone, or you can send this to Slack if you want, or do whatever you want. I mean, you can always also, of course, delete a row if you would like, right? So there is a row ID which you can delete. Okay, but the key is that I wanted to show you how to just pass a row to helper flow, and then from there it's up to you. So that's all I wanted to show you. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time.